What is gravel?
Yeah.
Community.
Thank you.
Gravel is like a second family to me.
I'm in another dimension right now.
5 years ago, I had no idea what a gravel bike was. Way more fun than my first one. My average mile per hour was like 12 miles an hour today.
Oh, just freedom, just being out and about.
Well deserved.
Thank you.
Yes.
Best part of the ride.
So the origins of the PCL, you know, really just a few roadies were just thinking about like having to have a race license in order to race an event. So they said, hey, what if we created something where it's more of a club, where anyone can participate. You don't have to have a race license. You can just show up and do events. You know, and that's where Craig Schmidt, a Lincolnite, and Troy Kraus, another Lincolnite, they decided on this club called the Pirate Cycling League. And then we started organizing events. I was brought on to help organize events. We created a blog, you know, and after the blog, we started posting, you know, some rides, and people started showing up. You know, first it used to be just a handful of people showing up. And then we were doing crits and like some point-to-point gravel races. And then after a while, you know, it ended up being like, oh wow, there's like, you know, 50 people showing up for a PCL event. So it just took off, and I think people really like that. You know, you didn't have to sign up in advance. You can just show up and be there. You know, me being a PCL member and kind of a founder, created the Gravel Worlds event.
At the end of the day, we're all here in this together. Some of us come to race, some of us come to ride, but we all share the same road. That's the spirit of gravel. That's what gravel's all about. We are 1 minute.
I'm a little tired with Jack because I'm on a start line that I'm always nervous at.
Yeah, I think I'm just, you know, excited to get out there, and like, I've only seen a little bit of the course, so it feels like a lot of it's going to be kind of an adventure today.
4, 3, 2, 1, let's go! Gravel Worlds 2021, sponsored by Lauf, has begun. I can't wait to see each and every one of you back here.
Cycling has had a tendency that as something gets bigger, it becomes less inclusive. And so I kind of feel this duty that that's not at all what gravel is, and that's why gravel is what it is because there aren't these rules and there aren't these barriers for you to be able to do that, to get into gravel cycling. And that's what I loved about gravel cycling. That's what got me hooked right away. So I feel like this duty as a promoter of Gravel Worlds and a face in gravel that I have to make sure that it stays inclusive, that it doesn't become harder for people to get into.
Kansas City.
Gravel is matinde. It's so mahirap, but it's fun. I encourage all our Filipino-American friends right out there. Once in your life, subukan nyo. Try it out, man. It's good for you.
There's something about just being in the middle of nowhere, being totally self-supported, whether that's on a 50-mile ride, 100, 200 this weekend, and just being really self-sufficient. I think we all need a little bit more of that sometimes, so yeah.
Gravel is about camaraderie, about a festive situation, about pushing yourself, about taking some risks, maybe falling down.
I think that shared experience is the magic. It's the fact that everybody's going out on the same course, they're experiencing it in similar ways, and then getting to retell those stories to each other, and that brings everybody together. And there's, I mean, thousands of people here at this event, so that's a lot of people coming together.
Yeah, I went to college as a track athlete, and then finished college and graduated, and I still wanted to be active. So I found out about triathlon just by watching TV and seeing it in a magazine. So there was one near my hometown, and I decided to jump into it. It was a pool swim. It was actually kind of a gravel ride and a gravel run, basically. And I ended up winning that event, so I was hooked instantly. And then since then, I've competed kind of all over the world and country, and I moved to the States to really follow my passion, and I've made a career out of it. Well, triathlon comes in a variety of different ways. I do the longer distances, so I do the Ironman distances and half Ironman, which is a 2.4-mile swim, 112-mile bike, and a marathon at the end. So I started going into gravel because of the ability to kind of see new adventures. As a triathlete, a lot of us get stuck into zones and power and just time trialing on the bike, and I, as a kid, have always loved the outside. When I got my gravel bike, the first thing I felt was me as a 5-year-old girl and just loving the bike. Like that's how I could explain it. I got my phone out, I took a picture of myself in video and said, oh my gosh, I feel like a kid again, just because you can take this bike anywhere. Whereas me always being on a TT bike, you always just had to be on the roads, and the roads had to be pristine. And with a gravel bike, you can literally, again, just go anywhere. And the gravel races that I've done, I have never pushed myself this hard. You know, a 150-mile race takes about 8 hours, and so that can transfer over to Ironman just because of the aerobicness of it.
Some of the biggest road racing events in Europe are sort of like gravel events in the Paris-Roubaix, from Paris to Roubaix, over, course always changes, but over like 20 sections of cobblestones, and then you have the Tour of Flanders, which also has Old Quermont and a number of the Kemmelberg, a number of important cobblestone climbs, and that's really what makes the race, is the sort of gravel type racing part of it, but that's completely separate from what everybody else gets to do. So the day before, you can do the Sportif event, the Paris-Roubaix Sportif, or the Tour of Flanders Sportif, and you can do it with 1 million people or thousands of people, and enjoy the day and have feed zones and have the camaraderie. But then the actual event, you have to be off the course. You get to be a spectator, and they'll flash by, and that's it. Right now, gravel racing in the United States, you're on the course at the same time, starting at the same time as those elite riders. And some of those elite riders in those gravel events used to be Pro Tour riders who would ride the elite Paris-Roubaix and Tour of Flanders and all that, and now they're riding gravel. But you get to be with them. Current American gravel racing is very similar to the original Tour de France, and I suppose if you had a 3-week-long gravel race where point to point to point to point to point, it would be almost identical to the Tour de France. That the bikes have to take a certain amount of abuse because the roads are crappy, and that you have to do your own service. There was a guy who broke a fork coming down off the Tourmalet one year, and he broke his fork off, and then he went to a farmer's, into a farmer's yard, and got the farmer to help him set up a forge that he could then weld his fork back together, which he did. But since he had the farmer's daughter squeezing the bellows, they DQ'd him because he was getting mechanical assistance. So that's how rigid it was against accepting any mechanical assistance. It's back to the original heart of cycling. Just ride all day long on whatever roads are along, and be able to fix your stuff when things go wrong. And
what is gravel? Gravel to me is exploring new places, getting off the beaten path, connecting the dots between places and people, and just getting out there. Yeah, so like my journey with cycling started out as an urban cyclist commuting to and from work. So gravel cycling for me has really opened up a whole new world. It's gotten me out of the city. I live in Seattle, so I'm used to like stoplight to stoplight and traffic, and gravel to me is like country roads and big vistas, and it's just amazingly peaceful and beautiful, and I can ride uninterrupted for hours at a time, which you can't do in the city. So it's even brought like endurance and fitness in a way that city riding hasn't, and so longer miles too, and bigger challenges and elevation.
What is gravel? It's so many things, and for one, it's an amazing crossroads of several different rider groups that are coming together, and maybe even solo, out there riding these roads that seem like they might be really remote. They might be the next frontier of outside of your little town, wherever that might be, or big city, but it's just this exciting discipline or movement of riding that kind of has no boundaries. I think that's really makes it special because it really opens the door for a lot of interpretation of what that is to an individual or a group of people. There are no constraints. We can turn down that road, and it could be quite a bit rougher than the one we just came off of, but that's okay. And the sense of adventure of like, yeah, what is around that next corner? I think it really goes well with, you know, what is gravel. Let's go find out.
I think gravel is very testing on spiritual limits because so much of it is going to a really deep, dark place in your mind and not surrendering to it. I have raced bikes for 5 years, maybe 6 years. I started out racing predominantly criteriums solely on the road. Criterium racing is it's this really fast, dynamic form of racing. It's similar to kind of NASCAR on bikes. And so it's often a closed loop in a downtown city center. And importantly, criteriums are not a straight course. They're known for having several tight corners, sharp uphills, fast downhills. It's a dangerous form of racing, and that danger makes it really exciting. After my first year of racing, I was picked up to Papa John's presented by Trek, raced there for a year, and then raced on DNA for a year. And after that was kind of had lost the love that I had for road racing and started to look for something different, and that led me to gravel. So in contrast to criterium racing, gravel racing it's more about the experience of the race, and that experience is defined by the rider. So you might have a rider who's coming and has never done a competitive event before. And so for them, getting to the finish line before the time cut and before the finish line is torn down is their win. But in gravel, I do feel that there's more of a glory in just finishing the race. There's a glory in even signing up for the race and attempting the training for it. It's hard.
So I'm still happy. Got a big finish right here. Still happy.
That's about to pop.
We'll just swap that tire.
We can swap.
Thanks, dude.
I appreciate the honesty. I like it way better that you tell me that you tell it.
It's hot out there. It's chunky. It feels slow. Ice feels good. Oh man.
Is your bike running well?
I hit a couple of things hard, but
it's doing all right?
Seems to be. Oh, can I just stay here? So how many miles to the next one?
I don't know. Can't see my face, but hit pretty hard. Gotta see if I'm concussed, and then we'll see if I go.
Thank you. I'm just gonna lay down for a minute.
Old guy falls down. Are you really okay?
Sorry.
Oh,
yeah. Thanks a lot.
You good there? Do you want anything on your knee?
That's the worst part. Thank you. All right. See you.
Bye
bye.
Hit hard. Thank you. Hit it good. Appreciate it.
Good job. Oh, that was fun.
To me, and to Moots in general, and I think kind of the cycling industry, the interesting thing about this is the gravel has brought awareness to some of these small towns that you would otherwise not visit, more than likely. You know, whether that's Emporia, Kansas, or Trinidad, Colorado, or Steamboat Springs, these are starting to become those check boxes on must-visit places to go and ride gravel. That's amazing in its short little lifespan so far.
Yeah, growing up in the Midwest my whole life, I've been surrounded by gravel my whole life. That connection with gravel cycling, it's not weird to us because that's literally what we have. Just here in Lancaster County, which is where Lincoln, Nebraska is, there's 1,468 miles of gravel roads just in our county around Lincoln, Nebraska.
To me, it's just fun because you can get out and you can explore. You can go from small town, like these funky little small towns you would never go to unless you're riding your bike. And then, you know, now like thinking about Emporia, Kansas, you know, would you ever think you'd be going to Emporia, Kansas? Like that's a, you know, the Unbound gravel event now. That's like, you must do that event now if you're into gravel. So would you ever think you'd be doing that like 10 years ago or 20 years ago, Emporia, Kansas? Probably not. So, you know, it's really cool to see the Midwest, you know, it being kind of the epicenter of this gravel revolution, and Lincoln being part of that too. So pretty proud of that.
Everyone out there is fighting so hard just to get to the finish line, and the volunteers are making it a little bit better by being so supportive and just doing anything, you know, anticipating your needs before you can even state them.
You know, it's camaraderie and community and steamboat, pretty much. I mean, these county roads are amazing. I know everybody says it, but they really are.
Yeah, no, here on the right. These two, three.
Water? Water on your head? No, I need water in my bottle. Okay. Is that all? Is that the only spot for water?
About halfway done. I've exploded twice. Yeah, hit me.
Goes gravel. Badass. It's amazing.
This guy is hot! Let's cool him off! Killing it!
It's amazing. It's like
This is my first gravel race, which 144 miles for the first one. I'm like, wow! But you know, we're more than halfway done, so I'm just having a great time. It's, well, for me, I'm here with the Black Foxes, and it's all about community. It's all about community. Thank you. Right on.
Buccaneer.
We're doing Buccaneer.
Uh-huh.
We're really behind, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter as long as we make it.
Yeah, what's your goal today?
To make it.
Gravel's so like inviting to everyone because there's no rules.
Lack of rules is probably a better way to say it.
Yeah, I mean, we have 9 basic rules of Gravel Worlds, you know, and the first one is, the most important one is don't be lame. Kind of live by the golden rule. So being lame covers a lot of different stuff, you know, like being mean to our volunteers or, you know, not being cool at a small town convenience store. But yeah, it's pretty loose. I mean, that's where, you know, the whole idea behind the PCL is we're trying to break down barriers for participation and not have a lot of excess, you know, requirements or rules involved. So as long as you're cool, you show up, you ride your bike, you're pretty much included, man. So that's all we really care about.
All right, Little Mermaid up and out.
So the crit and gravel communities are different. And it's not to say that there isn't a community with crit racing. I think there is, but it's maybe not something that you experience in the race. It's more something you experience outside of the race. Whereas in gravel, a lot of times the community is in the race with you. You have people that you've never met before that you might end up spending 100 miles with. And you get to know them in this really kind of almost strangely intimate way because you're both pushing these really intense physical boundaries and you're doing that together. And because you're together, it's better than if you were alone.
Oh, Lawrence broke my lube bottle.
Gravel's freedom. It's, you know, I've worked road racing for the last 4 or 5 years. This is much more individual. It's a much more individual test. Cycling's a weird sport. It's a team sport, it's an individual sport practiced by teams, which makes it really hard. This is really an individual test. You have teammates that are there, maybe they're not, but it's all about what you can do on the day, your legs, your bike, and your crew. Makes it a lot more fun for me.
Gravel racing is a lot more punchier than Ironman, and so the encouragement comes when you get into these groups where you're going as hard as possible going up these hills and you're working as a collective crew and then bombing down the hills together. And so in that sense, we are working as a team, and even if someone drops off or goes ahead, you know, that's the nature of the race. But within the context of the race, we help everyone. And so I've never experienced that before, and it just makes it way more fun and way more challenging as well, because if you have a group of 5 people, you want to stay with them rather than ride alone for 100 miles. And so you want to push that extra bit up that hill so you can stay with that front group.
The difference between riding
and especially like having a group of women is just so
yeah,
empowering.
that's what was so cool. It was like a group of, we probably had like 10 women all day.
Yeah. And then we just slowly dwindled and
working together.
We work together, push each other, and just awesome to finish together. Yeah.
There was a need in cycling for something that just let everybody in. And that's what gravel has become. It's the culture that it is. And I think that that is something that's become very unique in cycling and in this world, really.
It's a very encouraging, and I want to do it again next year, even though it's so
Yeah,
hard.
I think future of gravel, I hope it continues to grow. I hope people continue to find the sport. I hope people don't feel obligated to race and to pay money to ride gravel. I hope they just, go out their front door and find those Forest Service roads and recreate responsibly and feel a desire to conserve these beautiful environments that we get to ride in.
What is gravel? Why is it so cool? It's definitely, for me, it's freedom.
It's finding the limit and then pushing past it.
It's dirty rides, it's cold rides. It really is only limited by your imagination, I think.
All you need to do is have a bike. You can sign up. Honestly, it doesn't even matter what the bike is.
Get a bike that has wheels and tires that you can basically go anywhere, and then just start exploring, because that's the most fun you'll ever have on two wheels.
Gosh, it's just hard as hell.
It is unique. It's special. It's worth protecting, and it's something that has helped change my life, and it's something that's helped change the lives of so many people, and it's helped people fall in love with cycling again.
What gravel cycling is to me is the freedom to go anywhere. Paved road and dirt road and a little bit of single track, and just wherever your heart takes you, and to me that's sort of the purest essence of cycling, just getting on the bike and riding.